Just under a year ago, I released a video documenting 5 predictions I had for the future of the GD community based on the current trends at the time of the video's release. The video had very mixed receptions and people were wondering if these would actually come true. There were a few controversial opinions in there evidently. Since the year anniversary of this video is next week and I probably won't have time to release it on the actual day due to work, I thought I'd make a retrospective video 1 year on, and this is something I've wanted to do ever since creating the video in mid-year 2017. So today we'll be revisiting each prediction and addressing whether or not it actually came true and why this happened for each one. My first prediction was born out of the two most talked about levels in that period of 2017, Erebus and Devil Vortex. Both were extremely inconsistent levels made by Rustam, and both provided a new type of challenge to the community in the form of extreme inconsistencies in timing requirements. As a result, I analysed the trend of how new types of gameplay evolved in the game in the past and theorised that these two levels would become the stimulus for an extra long level of the same type, going on to be the driving force for new gameplay. But how did this turn out? Well, initially it started to look more and more likely, when both levels were raised further up the Demons list, with Erebus going to number 1 above Sonic Wave and Yatagarasu. This made it more likely that this style of inconsistent gameplay would become a desirable feature in levels. However, the first issue to stifle this was that Rustam did not make any more extreme demons after this. As they were both his levels, I was sure he would release the third extreme demon of this type, which would solidify their categorization of difficulty further, but this never came to be. Instead, I elaborated more on this in my extreme demon video. Wave levels continued to be the dominating force with levels like Zafkill. A new kind of timing demon did rise up, but not in the Rustam inconsistent style. Instead, it was Plasma Pulse Finale that triumphed in January and was moved up to number 1 on the Demons list. Though Devil Vortex continued to be raised up the list, Erebus started to be moved down in actual fact, going back below Sonic Wave. Then, levels like Gamma and Spatial Rend were released and Rustam's 2 extreme demons ended up being fairly forgotten about. We've recently had something slightly reminiscent in the form of Factory Realm X, a very difficult luck-based inconsistent level, but I doubt this took any inspiration from Rustam's levels. So as for the prediction itself, that there would be a 3-minute Erebus gameplay styled level in the near future, this was pretty far off all in all. I did place the marker at the end of 2.2, but as you'll see a lot in this video, there is no 2.2 time period to measure these predictions against. To be honest, I think this very easily could have happened. It was just that different types of gameplay got their chance in the limelight. Had a few factors addressed at the beginning been different, this one could have very well come true, but unfortunately I was not correct with this prediction. Jesus Christ, I was miles off with this one. Basically, for prediction 2 I forecast that Artificial Ascent would be moved above Yatagarasu on the Demons list by the end of the update. Okay, I know it sounds retarded now, but just hear me out. Basically, around the time I made the video last year, Yatagarasu had been out for 6 months and had already been moved down to 3rd at the time, and at that time Artificial Ascent was in 4th. Victors were piling up fairly quickly on Yatagarasu, and in fairness Victors weren't flying in as fast as they were for Artificial Ascent. And this was only 6 months after Artificial Ascent was added to the list, and you may remember that initially it was added above Sonic Wave. If you watched my Is Yatagarasu Underrated video, you may have a better understanding on why Yatta was being moved down so fast. Artificial Ascent wasn't upped anymore either though. Just before September 2017, Zafkill was released and broke a gap between these two levels, and the gap was eventually widened by things like Stalemate Redux and Katrega City, and the like. Shortly after this we got Digital Descent, which after its birthday in late September was viewed on the same level as Yatta, but this was lowered in itself, and the two brother levels fell down the list and out of the top 10 in unison. Yatagarasu now sits on the bottom half of the top 10, but it's falling nowhere near as fast. I don't know why I'm going into such depth about this. There's no two ways about it, I was miles off with this prediction. Well, this one's awkward. This really hinged on the assumption that 2.2 would be out sooner. I think it's a big testament to just how long we've waited for 2.2 when we were gearing up for the end of 2.1 a whole year ago, and we had already seen the new vehicle that was to be added. I forecasted that this would be a swingcopter replacement game mode, and I forecasted on how it would work and affect some levels, but this is all completely intangible without the update to reveal the workings of the vehicle itself. We've not even had the 2.2 level preview yet in the second half of 2018, so it's impossible to tell. One thing I did mention was that I thought we'd have a floating ball rebirth of Red World Rebirth when that fell off the Demons list, but the lack of 2.2 voided all possibility of this, even if it was unlikely by itself. It also banked on 2.2 being released before Red World Rebirth fell off the list, something else that didn't come to fruition. We still have no real big way of telling what the vehicle might be or how it might work, but fan-made levels implementing clones of it are calling it a Swingcopter 2. I'm not going to say that I was inherently wrong for this prediction, as it's simply impossible to tell, thanks to the slowness of GD's development, so this one's going down as not applicable. Good lord, 3 predictions down, I haven't got a single one of them right. Let's hope I'm a bit more correct on the final 2. Oh, Jesus Christ, it's this one. Now, the response I got to this prediction completely ruined the video for me, and in the comments, and it really pissed me off. Loads of people have claimed that they were offended by this original prediction, and this just is a real testament that this community is full of easily offended SJWs looking to be offended by something. Basically, my 4th prediction was that mobile players for GD would become a dying breed, and that they would not play nearly as much of an important role in the game by the end of 2.2. Of course, 2.2 hasn't even begun yet, let alone ended, but I'm still quite smug in the face of those people who attacked me in the last video by saying that my prediction is already coming true at an alarming rate. But before I face the wrath of the people who won't examine this with any objectivity and instead will spam comments with things like, "I'm so offended, I'm a great mobile player," I'd just like to add a disclaimer. This prediction coming true does not mean there aren't no good mobile players whatsoever. It just means that the mobile game is being severely impacted by a number of creator and developer choices from which it won't recover. Basically, I forecasted that mobile players wouldn't be able to play the game for stars at some point, with the big levels just being too laggy and unrunnable on mobiles to be worth playing. Some did throw out the fair comment that technology in phones, such as the 120Hz Razer phone, would be able to handle this kind of stuff, but speaking from a consumer's perspective, the children and young teenagers of this community are not using these specialist graphic smartphones as their mobile phones. Hardly anyone has them. Also, levels have generally exploded with objects in 2018. Catharsis, God Eater, Korn, even the weekly demon levels are rising in graphical requirements. Phones never had a prayer. When even the players with the best PCs in the community can't run GD, what hope do mobile users have? My prediction also highlighted the best mobile players quitting because they can't play the game for stars, and this rang eerily true when Pekoski, arguably the former best mobile player in the world, quit the game for this very reason. He left 3 months ago and we've heard nothing of him since. Also, in the years since the last video, former number 1's mobile star grader Michigan called time on his astounding career, and generally swarms of skilled mobile players are leaving the game compared to the few entering and rising up. Another thing that's a huge kick in the ass for mobile players starting out is that the Everyplay service is being discontinued. Now obviously, as many people have pointed out, there are better screen recorders out there for mobile, but Everyplay was the built-in incentive for random mobile players to launch a career. New players who have just entered the game do not have the initiative to go and record their screen themselves. It was an essential middle ground for players like Aeon, Weo, Darnok, and now that medium is missing, I really fear that the mobile game will suffer even more. I also predicted that by the end of 2.2, no mobile player would have legitimately beaten a top 50 demon. Now, obviously it's too early to say this as 2.2 isn't out yet, but mobile completion records are moving out of the list fast. Not to say that there aren't none. I know there's one mobile player who beat Aurora on mobile. Generally, levels are made with 144Hz PCs in mind. Stilueto GD has a bunch of demons on his phone, but one man cannot carry a dying community of mobile players. There might be a glimpse of hope here and there, but generally, the mobile game is nothing compared to what it once was. Overall, I'm fairly confident in saying that I was pretty spot on with this prediction if I do say so myself. However, I'm getting sick and tired of people attacking me and saying that I'm trying to kill the mobile game. I'm not. I don't want an elitist GD game. I started on mobile. If it wasn't for the mobile game, my channel never would have started. But I am just a realist, even if a little negative sometimes. So regardless of this prediction, can we stop stupid comments like this, please, whenever a mobile player does anything worth mentioning? My final prediction was a fairly safe bet at the time. I predicted that Nobbleboy was to become a god in the community by the end of the update, and well, he has definitely done a lot of what I expected he would. Granted, it took way longer than expected. My predictions video came out a month after the 98% fail on Bloodlust, and it took Nobbleboy 8 months more to actually finish it. But this allowed him to get closer to the 100k threshold, and he nailed it pretty quickly after beating it. After this, I said that he would compare to Riot in terms of views, with everything he uploads getting hundreds of thousands of views simply because it's him. And this is happening all over the place now, sure enough too, although it is partly due to the fact that he's unveiling loads of projects. He hasn't beaten anything since Bloodlust, despite getting 98% on Singularity recently, so I don't think he'll ever channel Riot in terms of skill, but he's certainly having an impact on the community in a similar way. Interestingly, I thought God Eater would be somewhere in the mix to have acted as a catalyst for some of his near on 120,000 subscribers, but that is all still ahead of him too. So it will be interesting to see how quickly he shoots up to 200,000 like Riot did. He's growing and gaining influence like I thought he would. In fairness, this is another one where I put a 2.2 marker down as a goal measurer, so it's intangible to a degree, but yeah, overall, I think I was correct about this one too, even though it was a pretty obvious one and a safe bet. So overall, out of the 5 predictions I made, I got 2 right, 2 wrong, and 1 cannot be measured yet. What that shows us is, I guess, is that GD, however predictable it seems, is still never quite set in stone. There's always room for twists and turns in the course of this game. I got 2 wrong, and both were about demon difficulty and gameplay evolution, so I think that's a pretty big sign that the future of demons and difficulty is what keeps this game unpredictable and gives it some hook. Maybe that's not right though. Maybe these were stupid predictions. What did you think? Be sure to leave your thoughts and feelings in the comments below. I thank you very much for watching, and I hope you did enjoy the video. If you did, please smash that like button, and if you're new around here, if you could subscribe and consider checking out some of my other videos, then it would really help me out. Cheers guys, I'll see you all soon.